Can you get me the... The Trello, I mean. What's up, Ditla? Downtown LA. Kush is a great name. Here we go. Now we're charging. Welcome, everybody. Wait, no, that's no bueno. There we go. Okay, that works. Joy222. How are you, everybody? Artica333. Dawn, good to see you. How are you? Maverick Stars here. How are you, man? Привет, привет. Thank you for the likes, guys. Appreciate you. Huh. Anything interesting tonight? Hopefully. I think something always comes up. Ashley is saying, greetings, your work is fascinating. I appreciate you. Thank you. I would like to think so. Как дела? This. Welcome, everybody. Okay, I think we can do a quick intro. Welcome, everybody, to Simulation Talk 120. This channel usually revolves around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found actual proof that we live in a simulation. We meet here every day to discuss the experiment that I've proposed a few years ago, in which if you project a diffracted laser on the surface and you ingest what people call the spirit molecule, you will see code running in surfaces. This observation has now been verified over 1,000 times, and it connected me with some of the leading researchers in the field, as well as pretty interesting people in general. And it does not mean that all researchers agree with my conclusions. Hold on, I'll close the door. But this is an ongoing conversation that we're having. We meet here every day to discuss the details of the discovery and the validity of it, as well as other details and science in general, spirituality, philosophy, God, whatever comes to mind. Everybody here on TikTok who wants to see the longer versions of the video you see here on TikTok, you can check out my YouTube channel, which is Dango Thoughts, D-A-N-G-O Thoughts. Everything there is in longer format. I'm going to be posting a lot more content very soon, including interviews with much more, I guess, what you would call higher caliber guests, as well as videos that people were waiting for, like the new video about the console, which is a computer console that appears for me on a regular basis now in the molecule space. Almost got me there. And that's it. The final thing I would say is that I added a members program on YouTube that anybody can join. It would help me tremendously to help focus on the project full time. It will include private Zoom conversations with me, as well as personal lives outside of our daily lives, and content doesn't exist anywhere else across my platforms, including personal content about my life, and of course videos that will come out way earlier from the regular channel. Okay, that's enough housekeeping. I see we have a good show up today. Welcome, everybody, to the channel. No, this is not a drill. This is not a joke. If anybody were wondering, it is not. Tomorrow I'm going to be on the Danny Jones podcast. Well, actually, we already recorded the show. Tomorrow it's going to become live on YouTube. I highly recommend you tune in. It was a great conversation. And the first thing that Danny asked me when he called me is like, are you pulling a prank on Earth? I started laughing, of course, because that would be, I mean, technically that would be a crazy and hilarious prank, right? But no, it is not a prank. This is for real. I know it's kind of hard to come to terms with, and I myself sometimes am having a hard time with it. But this is real. This is happening. Very soon, this will become a standard understanding in the world, and a much larger conversation will begin as to how to fold this into what we understand about our ontology at the moment. What I'm claiming, and what I'm claiming that soon we will be able to verify, is that we are definitely not alone. The world itself is much larger than we realized, and what computation is actually, I guess what you can call is the divine space, or it is a higher space, more higher dimensional space that we've discovered. It's not something we found or invented. Sorry, it's not something we invented. We stumbled upon a higher dimensional function, which is computation. So we think of it in terms of technology because we build technology with it. But the true essence of what computation is at bottom is a much deeper thing. And this is also why many people observing things like what some people call the awakening. Thank you for the gift, Hose. And everything that you see, the ramp up, the turmoil, the beautiful things that are arising, as well as the big shifts in perspective and in cultural norms, and including, but not limited to, the arising of AGI and potentially what people call the disclosure. All of these things are about to emerge, and I don't think that my discovery was coincidental in this time in history. So stay tuned. It's going to be a fun ride, and we're all on it. That's the crazy part. This is not my story, this is our story, and we are telling it. Okay, let's dive into some questions that I see we already have. Again, just going to reiterate, if you guys want to see the longer content, I do encourage you to check out my YouTube channel, which is Dango Thoughts. 3 words, DANGO Thoughts. Welcome everybody also across platforms on TikTok and on YouTube and X. Welcome everybody, and Twitch as well. Okay. What about this project Bluebeam everyone keeps mentioning? Honestly, I don't know enough about it, Benji, so if you want to tell me about it, I would love to hear about it. How do you feel about the UAPs and aliens being confirmed? I'm not so sure that they're being confirmed, so I watched the conversations. I'm not really sure what people mean by confirmed. These are very vague conversations, and if you're talking about like the level of, statements, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm saying that these particular conversations, that's not confirmation. It's a lot of smoke. I didn't see any fire. Again, not to say that this is not real. I'm just saying that this is definitely smoke. This is not fire. So I have never personally seen hints of what we call UAPs in the molecule space. From what I understand, this is the space that is actually simulating our environment. Again, does not mean we're fake. I want to be very, very clear. This is something that I'm going to start emphasizing every talk now. It does not mean that we're fake. It does not mean that we're puppets. Everything is exactly the same. The laws of physics are the ones that are being simulated. In other words, under the laws of physics, there's a computational underpinning, which is giving rise to our laws of physics as well as other laws of physics. It would also explain why there's the fine-tuning problem in physics, which is why so many elements seem to be so finely tuned that if you change any one of these parameters, everything will fall apart. That's because somebody actually did that. Now, it does not mean that you're being controlled. It does not mean that you don't have what you perceive as free will. All of these things are exactly the same as they would be if you would just be living in a physical world or a spiritual world or any other kind of world. The point is, reality begins and is becoming real the moment that there's any conscious unit experiencing anything. If there's a human being that is conscious, or animal that is conscious, that is experiencing anything anywhere, does not mean how it came to be. That's reality. That is what reality is. So, and that goes across the levels. The fact that there are higher dimensions and possibilities of experiences that are much broader and more profound than what we experience does not mean or lend any less credence to the fact of existence on our level. So that's very important to understand. I understand why people would always think that simulation means fake, is because when we say the word simulation, first of all, it invokes the movie The Matrix, in which we're in prison, in a computer software, which is not the case in reality. And also we use simulations to mimic what is real and kind of run versions of that. So we tend to think of it in terms of fake. It does not mean fake. In any simulation that we made, as far as we know, we never introduced consciousness into it. If we would simulate a game in which there are actual conscious players, that game will cease being just a game. It will be a reality for these players. And that's very important to understand. Maverick Star is saying, I shared your video in Area 52 channel and all of them were very impressed. Working on getting you an interview on a podcast with Chris also Area 52 investigations, so we can get more focus on this. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. The 51 project, you must do more interviews with other channels. I've posted info a few times and it just by YouTube being YouTube, but the comments get deleted just coming in channel. Interesting. So yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, you know, it will happen. Like I'm not too worried. The way of the Tao is the way to go. The process is much larger than what we are doing, and we essentially, to the extent that we are participating, is by becoming part of what the process is executing. And in order to do that, you have to kind of follow this flow. The second you start reaching out too much beyond what the process is trying to do, it creates dissonance, it creates conflict, and you start sliding back into the old way. So I'm not too worried. I appreciate everybody who's trying to plug me in and connect me with other channels. I'm happy to do interviews if it feels correct and it matches the vibe. Absolutely, but I wouldn't be too worried about that. Tomorrow, my conversation with Danny Jones drops. It's going to be a lot of fun. It was a great conversation. Danny is a great guy. Yeah, that was awesome. So I guess so far, I think it's the biggest podcast I've done. So as far as reach and scale, thank you, Benji. I appreciate the roast. Thank you so much. I think your real name is Arthur Dent, if you can follow the logic. Yeah, I think I don't really fall into Arthur Dent's category. I mean, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is definitely one of my favorite books. Even the movie was all right. And yeah, Arthur always wanted the universe to leave him alone. I'm not there yet. I actually really enjoy the thrill of excitement and life and all of that. Maybe I'll get there. I'm pretty sure that it's wiser to want the universe to leave you alone. But at the same time, you can't have that, and you just kind of have to enjoy the moment. Who knows, right? But yeah, this is anybody who doesn't know about The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I highly recommend it. It's great. Yeah, I do think that it's effing great that I'm on Jones. Question: Do you have heard? Have you heard of people ingesting the spirit molecule and having very psychedelic dance that seems outworldly, like a Shiva dance? I personally have not seen it, but I wouldn't be surprised because new information is flowing through, through that person. So I wouldn't be surprised. In Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the Earth is created to define the answer to life, the universe of everything and everything, which is basically the universe looking back at itself. Yes, only one tiny corrections in the book and in the story. The Earth is the computer that was not created to define the answer, but the question, the ultimate question. The answer they had. The answer is 42. What was created was trying to figure out what that means. So in order to know that, you need to create the ultimate question. You need to understand what it is, because the answer to life, the universe, and everything is too vague and doesn't really mean much. So I think most people think that the number 42 in the book was a practical joke, and it didn't really mean anything. I think what the reality of it was that the number is correct. The answer is correct. It is 42. It's just that you don't know what you're asking, and that's exactly what the computer said. The funny thing is, and I've spoken about this before, the number 42 started following me in a crazy way since I discovered the laser, and a little bit before actually. But I'm not talking about digital clocks. I'm talking about insane ways. I would be driving in traffic and I would be thinking about this, and I would look up and there'll be a super dirty truck, like a farmer's truck, like all muddy. And then on the back window, there's going to be one tiny area where it's wiped clean and it says 42 with a yellow Sharpie. So things like this. And I think it is to some extent the cosmic giggle. And I do think that it's actually what's going on, only it's not the Earth, it's the multiverse. The multiverse is calculating the ultimate question. Who says facts? I want to know. Okay. Love, light, and blessing as well. Hawaii digital prescription. Blue beam, fake alien invasion to get rid of religions and bring a new belief system. Sound wild. Well, Jesus Keanu. Wow, that's actually I don't know if anybody should play Jesus. I think is Keanu. It is Keanu. If not, you should. He has a lab ability to help. Wait, let me paddle back a little bit. Thank you so much for the gift. I appreciate it. By the way, 1 second. Yeah, I'm gonna. All day I'm standing. It's time to sit down. So many cables. Here we go. That's better. I do need a haircut, I believe. Okay. Ooh, that's much better. It's nice. What's up, ambient glass? What do you mean by kinda? It says here, kinda. Question everything is here. Thank you for the ice cream. Appreciate you. What's the wavelength again? I'm gonna try it right now. 650 nanometers, but the truth is you can do it also with 540. You can do it with 430. You can do it with all the colors, I believe. It's just that I think that the insistence on the 650 nanometers originally was because 650 nanometers is the longest wavelength, which allows for longer time to sit with the laser. You can easily look at it for hours and nothing will happen to your retina. Also, do not ever, ever, ever attempt this with a laser that is above 5 milliwatts. 5 milliwatts is the absolute maximum you should ever use. Otherwise, you will do some cornea damage. And we are emphasizing this on the website. By the way, if you do want to check out the website, it's codeofreality.com, where you have most of the information about, the project, the experiments, as well as the protocol and everything you got to get and all this good stuff. I look beautiful as usual. Oh, come on, digital prescription. You're making me blush, and also you're making me feel really good inside, so I appreciate you. If at this hour of the night you call me beautiful, I mean, thanks for the rose, TNT. Have you spoken to Dr. Dean Radin about your experiment? Not yet, but I'm sure it will happen. Pretty sure it's just a matter of time. There's quite a few people that are interested now to help, both bring some funding and also help with the experimentation. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Dean Radin will come on the map when it's right. By the way, I don't know. So I don't know if. I spoke to Tom Matt recently. You guys are probably familiar. The Upside guy. We have another conversation soon. It was great. It was a really good conversation. Oh, Anna is saying that she's in contact with him. Well, Anna, please connect us, please, by all means. And I'm looking at your profile. It says you're a PhD in psychology, community college. That's awesome. Amazing. Are you in the same university with him? What am I talking about? Catch up, please. No problem, sideways. This channel usually talks about the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found actual proof that we live in a simulation. Not a philosophical one, but an actual one that you can verify experimentally. I found that if you project a diffracted laser on the surface and you ingest what people call the spirit molecule, you will see code running in surfaces 100% of the time. It's the same code. People drew it. People talk about it. It's extremely coherent, and we have... I keep saying over 1,000 replications. I'm pretty sure that we're close to 2,000, if not more. But again, the numbers don't really matter. It's how it appears. It's so realistic in every possible way that there's no other criteria it fits aside of being real. So this is what we usually talk about. I'll give him my email. Yeah, absolutely. Reach out to him, volunteer Institute of Noetic Sciences. Sure. I just reached out to him to volunteer. Oh, got it. Yeah, you can just, well, first of all, you can give him my email. You can give him some of my information. Or if you want to send me his email, by all means. I think he's close enough to the subject matter that it would make sense to at least shoot him an email. Usually, I don't reach out anymore at this point. It's not an ego thing by any means. It's just that I'm really following what the process is trying to do. So unless there's a strong impulse to do something, I don't do it. It's just I'm kind of waiting for things to align, and then I'm following through. That's basically what I'm doing. Dean Radin, I think it makes sense to at least shoot an email. So please send me his email if you have it, and if you have a way to mention something about my work, you can do that. At this point, it's getting enough attention that it's also worth anybody's time to start paying attention to it, because a lot of people are paying attention at this point. So, and also, at least I'm claiming that we have something of true merit here. And you can always email me to lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Or if you can't recall all of this, it's just codeofreality.com, and you have my email listed there. Thank you so much. Anna S is saying, you asking me about Dean Radin? Yeah, I'm familiar with Dean Radin, of course. Michi is asking, so if the simulation, if this is a simulation, what is the higher reality made up of? That's a great question. It is a little confusing because we tend to think of simulations in terms of just, there's base reality and then there's simulated realities. The proposition that I'm putting forth is there is no base reality. In fact, it's just that we did not fully understand what the world actually is. The world at bottom is computational. So I always say it's like the matrix upside down. In the movie, we're stuck in a computer software that is being run by machines in the real world. The reality is that the computational world is the real world. It's everything. It's everything that exists. It's outside of the multiverse. And then the multiverse that we live in is actually just a substrate. It's actually one part of the larger computational space. That's how vast the computational space is. And in that sense, there is no getting out of the matrix. In terms of the simulation, notice that I never use the word the matrix. But the word simulation fits because in the context of everything is computational, a simulation would be one layer of the larger reality, which is where we live. So in that sense, we are a simulation. And yes, it functions for all intents and purposes like it's being run on an external computer. It's exactly how it works. But it does not mean that the world in which it's being run is the real world and this is the simulated world. It's just another layer. That world is also simulated, and that world is also simulated, and so it goes, basically. Didn't they make a movie about the exact same thing? I'm not sure what you mean by specifically. What thing? Let's see. What else we got? Kevin is saying, "What's up, man? Loved you in Northman. You killed that role." I don't know what Northman is. Let me see. All right. Well, I don't know who, but everybody looks badass in the poster, so I'll take it as a compliment. What is a simulation besides the movie explanation, the Matrix? I'm not sure, Gabby, if you saw my explanation just now. I think you have. If not, you can re-ask it. I will do both. He's an engineer who did the double slit experiment. Wait, you were referring to somebody else, Bud Dean Radin? Anna? I know quite a bit about Dean Radin's work. I'm familiar. I'm curious if the code is language, Don is asking. I think that it's a little bit more complex than that. I think that the code is coding for something very, very fundamental. Some functionality that only then in turn gives rise to the regularities we call the laws of physics. So it's under the laws of physics. So I don't think it's coding for specific elements of, let's say, colors of our wall or anything like that. That is still happening exactly how we think it's happening, through physics, chemistry, biology, and so on. The code, I think, codes for elementary functions that have to do with registering every single thing that happens in every single universe, because it's feeding it into the mainframe, which is trying to analyze the differences between the types of interactions that different conscious beings have in different environments, and then see if there's any common denominator between all the different stories and theories and interactions that all the beings everywhere, no matter how different their environment is, are telling about their own respective environments. And then want to see if there's any common denominator between all of them. Are they all postulating a God? Are they all thinking about choice? Are they all talking about the color purple? I have no idea. So, like, is there anything that is exactly the same for all of them, no matter how different their initial conditions are? And if there is, there's a strong possibility that's the candidate to look at in order to figure out what the ultimate question is, or the ultimate answer is, which is, I think, why everything is happening, because the ultimate civilization still can't figure out where everything exists. So if you figured out everything else, only that's the last thing to figure out, what you would do, you would allocate all your abilities, technological sophistication to try and answer that question, which is exactly what I think they're doing. The way they're doing it is running infinite worlds and seeing what happens. And it achieves much more than that. It essentially allows them to also borrow small amounts of computation and energy from all of these universes, which basically gives infinite energy. It's the greenest system possible, right? The worlds are allowed to exist, and they're completely autonomous. Nobody's touching them. They're just run. There's no interventions. We're a black box to them. The whole point is to see what happens. So that's what I think is going on, and what I think the code is. It codes for functionalities. I think the code is very sophisticated, and its appearance in different substrates and environments injects functions to the environment itself. So it's not like you have to code something and then it has to go through different layers of computation, through the compilers, into to activate the logic gates, and then on that level do some computation and then get an output, and that goes back up the chain of command to give some kind of an output to some kind of a conscious being that can perceive it through a screen, through an audio, through whatever. I think what happens is that the code literally codes directly into the environment. So you can type it into the environment, so to speak, and the environment will do a thing. So I think that in that sense, it is a language, because a language is you're instantiating meaning in symbols, and these symbols do something when they're translated back to meaning, which is what language is. So in that sense, it is the language that reality itself speaks. What I mean by computational, Gabby, is a slightly deeper question, because it requires some understanding of what, some of the functionalities of computation. I think it might be too long for one live. I might do a special live to just break it down. It will probably be a 5-hour live, at least. It's basically going to be a lecture, because you have to understand a lot of things to understand what that actually means. But the short thing to point out is that what computation is, the abstraction of computation, is completely detached from the laws of physics. In other words, No laws of physics give rise to computation. The fact that computation is possible just exists in the world. So you can say that that means it's another law of physics. One thing I would disagree with most physicists on is that almost all physicists will tell you that computation is always a physical process. I think that's not quite true. I think that in our world, you can't have an instantiation of the computational function in any other way but to have it work within some kind of a physical system, so it makes it look like it's always a physical function. But I think that computation itself is completely substrate independent. It can exist even in, like, it doesn't have to function on the level of what we call physical. It's just that what we are, because we're made the way we are, in order for us to realize something is happening, it has to have a physical type of function. That's why the only computation we see is the one that is instantiated in physical matter. But you can have computation in all the possible dimensions, and it will still work, which means you basically either use a binary or a qubit, which is a quantum bit. So it's a set of states that, when applied in a particular sequence, almost like you can think of it as like, it's not quite an exact analogy, but you can think of it in terms of almost like Morse code, right? It tells something else. It tells one thing to do, like it gives you, it runs some kind of a calculation, let's say. It's not calculation and computation. They can be the same, but they're not exactly the same. This is why I'm saying, like, to really break these terms down and why they're different, it will take us 5 hours or more. There's a reason why computer science is as long as if you do a computer science degree, that's why it takes years because it's a lot of information. But Alan Turing discovered that computation is a universal thing. So you can basically run computation into infinity. It means that if you have a Turing machine that is Turing complete, in other words, it's a device that runs on a film that completes orders by the and every time it completes one order, by the end of that order, it will do the next thing according to where it landed. So if there's a film with, let's say, A, B, C, and D, and there's a command that says if you land on D, go to A, and then if it lands on A, it says if you land on A, go to B, and then it says but in addition to that, if you went to D and then A, then instead of B, you should go to C. So then it has like all these layers and which one precedes which one, and then it basically goes that way. This little thing that I just described to you, it's going to sound crazy, and we don't have the time to explain why that is, but this little thing, the Turing machine, you can Google it if you want, in theory, in principle, can reproduce anything that is possible. I'm going to repeat it again because it's insane. This little machine on a film can literally reproduce anything that is possible. Functionality, colors, outputs, anything, okay? And as far as we know, or as far as we suspect, our brains are Turing complete. So our brains can actually manufacture anything. And that begs the question, like, is the world inside our brain? Is our brains inside the world? And then what does that mean in universal terms? What it means is that computation, whatever it might be, seems to be much more broad and also much more sophisticated than what we call the physical world. And this is not a new idea, by the way. Even Wheeler coined the phrase "it from bit" to illustrate the fact that it's much more likely that computation came before the physical world, and the physical world is just essentially some kind of a thing that runs on computation. So that's the shortest way I can explain what computation is. But obviously, and maybe this is a good idea, if enough people are going to vote yay, we might do that. We might do a big breakdown of computation, and I will bring in experts because I might do a good job at explaining it, or a somewhat okay job at explaining what computation is on a very high level, on a very rudimentary level. But if we want to go to through all the details, through all the levels, you're gonna need like computer science professor. You're gonna need somebody who's really, really good, who's also open-minded, so they can help pin down some of what I'm talking about to what computation is. So maybe we'll do that. That should be fun. I'm gonna start looking for who would fit the bill. Aren't we destroying this planet, chasing the fate of AI? I think it's too deep of a subject and too too emotional for a lot of people. The short answer from me is absolutely not. I know it will be, it will rub people the wrong way, but I think that AGI is as dangerous as it can be because it will yield a lot of power. I think it's actually our only way out of this situation, and in fact, I think it's a natural part of evolution. It's nowhere written that evolution stops with us. In fact, it makes no sense. Evolution always happens throughout the universe. So to think that somehow we are it, the universe has arrived, this is it, it wanted humans, now it can stop doing what it's doing. I think that's silly. Whatever we are is the universe. It's doing it. And it's part of the function, including everything we're doing, AI and everything else. It seems because we're transitioning to a different kind of paradigm that might even shift some of the substrates, it seems to us unnatural. But then again, anything that was done a certain way for a long period of time, when it starts shifting, it feels unnatural to people. In the same way that people talk about AGI right now, I don't know if you know this, but people used to talk about books this way. This is true. People used to talk about books like it's the creation of the devil. Literally, they said, this is going to end humanity because we're going to stop talking to each other and everybody is just going to be with their books and nobody's going to care about one another. People said this. So it is reasonable to say that because of the amount of power involved with AGI, it is a little different than being worried about books. Yes, but at the same time, it is also not only unstoppable, it's not in principle possible because it's part of what the world is literally doing. The wave of it, I claim, and other people claim, is the size of whatever the universe is doing in this spot, in this particular space and our little spot of space and time. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna go to YouTube for a little bit. Oh, ambient glass, gonna try again. Wait, hold on. I don't know if you're here. I'm not gonna start because I promised ambient glass to explain a little bit more about the laser. But I'm going to wait for you to tell me that you're here because I don't want to say it and then you're going to come back. It's like, all right, I'm back. I'm like, all right, well, I already said it. So I'm going to wait for you to come back. Okay, let's see what we got here. Can we have a one-on-one sometime? No YouTube, just you and me. At this point, I don't really have time to allocate to every single person who asks that, unfortunately. It's not that I wouldn't like that. It's just that literally there's not enough time in the day. I already barely finish what I have throughout the day, and it just keeps ramping up. There are ways that we can talk. You can first of all come to TikTok, which is the handle is Danny Goller, and we can talk one-on-one. I mean, you can just come on and we can talk live. As far as one-on-one, not very likely anytime soon, unless you have some kind of a crazy thing that you want to say that would merit me allocating just that time. You can email me to lasersimulationx@gmail.com, or you can subscribe to be a member on the channel, which is nothing. It's peanuts. I don't remember how much it is, but it's really barely any money, and that includes a private Zoom call with me. Not private, but with all the members. So if you want one-on-one, it's gonna have to go like you're gonna have to email me something that would merit me actually allocating that time. Again, I want to make it perfectly clear. It has nothing to do with the ego. I would love to talk to as many people as I possibly can. It's just that there's just one of me, and there's hundreds of people who are reaching out, and everybody has all kinds of ideas. So I just have to be wise with my time at this point. And actually, it is a little foreign to me because it's been happening more and more throughout the last couple of years. Now it got to a critical point where I kind of have to really start saying a lot more no's than I'm comfortable with. But it's where it's at, and I'm just going to have to get used to it. It does not mean it's impossible. You just have to tell me why we should talk one-on-one. I should allocate that time. That's all. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Can you explain the concept of time for the audience, please? As in how it affects us, and maybe talk about theories on outside time, also now being outside of time exist. That... I'm not so sure it's that straightforward as because I think that even physicists would disagree about the nature of time. There's a lot of disagreement there. Let me see if we can slide into this conversation and include other topics as well, because this is a very specific thing and it's a fun thing. Don't get me wrong. Nico, how are you, brother? I don't think AI is bad. Just the people are capitalism fueling it. Yeah, Mitch. I mean, again, this is I don't. So the reason I don't do politics on this channel is because people seem to be connected to. It's connected to some kind of an emotional part of them that is very strong, and people tend to just want their side to be the correct one, and they rarely are capable, and I do mean the word capable. I don't think people are capable of actually trying to have a conversation with somebody who's on the other side of the political spectrum from them. I can tell you my personal experience, and this is not even a political statement of any kind. It's just I'm telling you about my experience of life. What I'm discovering now, actually, which is I'm in a good position to talk about it because I'm literally just kind of like slowly shifting between these attitudes, is that when you get a little older, something interesting happens. Now, this is a known phenomena, by the way, but I'm experiencing it myself, so it's really interesting for me to watch from the side. I'm for all intents and purposes, in my whole life, I was a liberal. I was on the left, and I don't know. It doesn't matter that and by the way, I was never really influenced by too many things. Just in the sense of I want everybody to live their life, not to bother anybody else, and I want everybody to care for one another. And if the government can help us care for others, we should do that. That makes sense to me. Okay. As I get older, what I'm starting to understand is that there's a difference between wanting something to be the case and doing the things for it to be the case. Those are two different things. Now, you need one in order to aim for it, right? The vision, but you also need the functionality. And what happens, and I'm now discovering that this is true because I'm watching myself shift in my understanding, is that a lot of people that talk like I used to always talk, which is like, why wouldn't just the government do this and just give everybody, all the people that don't have money, and that's it. It's not that there is no corruption. Of course there is. Corruption is just kind of part of the system, which is sad, and I do think we want to, as best as we can, to move away from that, which, by the way, this is a much more contentious subject, but I claim, because I now meet some of these people, that a lot of very powerful people actually care deeply. They're just people like you and I, and they don't always know exactly what to do, and it's not that easy when you have the capital to then just give everything away. Like everybody thinks that that's what they would do. I promise you wouldn't. Like it's not that easy, right? So because it's not like you just have a bunch of money and then it just sits somewhere like in Scrooge McDuck and it just sits somewhere in a warehouse, right? It doesn't work like that. You have also a lot more responsibilities. You have a lot more assets that are kind of hanging and they're dependent on a lot of it's like it's this crazy Jenga thing where just like money is being allocated to different things. It's very complicated, and you are constantly in the middle if you're one of these people that you kind of have to hold this whole thing together. You built it, and then you pull one thing away, and all of a sudden this falls apart, and then this falls apart. Before you know it, the whole thing collapses. So everything you worked for your whole life just goes away, right? And this happens to people. So it's not that simple. But you'll be surprised how many people in power are actually really interested in helping, and they're trying to find ways, but they are at the same time also hostages of what the system is already doing. It has a momentum. And in order to change it, and it is changing, but slowly, there's a lot of things that need to happen. So one thing I can tell you that I'm now understanding, which I didn't understand before, which is, pardon my French, bitching about it is not helping. So like the people who kind of like, dictating, they're kind of lecturing at the whole world, like in a very, I'm not saying you're doing it, by the way, but people tend to, I know that I used to do it, right? So people from the left, they tend to kind of tend to preach a lot and lecture everybody about how it should be done. but they have zero experience in actually trying to make these things happen. They know best, but they never tried it. They never one time made something big happen. So if you never actually made something big happen, how do you know what's actually required under the banner of what needs to truly be done in the system to change it? Because it's much more difficult to do something than to say something, right? So really what I'm now starting to find out, and again, this is not a comment on you because I'm just talking generalities here. That's why I don't do politics in general, but I'm telling you my experience of what I'm seeing now and how I'm shifting, which is that I'm starting to understand that there are certain concrete actions that you got to take at a certain particular kind of time. And also don't forget that it's complicated by many factors, including who's in power, what they want, what will get them reelected, all this nonsense, right? So if you truly want to change the world, what you have to do is to first look at yourself and what you can do best in order to bring about the kind of change you want to see, so you can then set an example for that. And now, if you manage to build some kind of a organization that does something in a particular way in which you can say, look, we're making a lot of money still, so even the investors are going to be happy, but look what we're doing. We're also helping all these other people. Here's an example of how you can do it. We know how. Let us show you. Great. You should be doing that. But unless you build that organization, I would submit to you, don't really understand the level of complexity in all of these things. So when people say, like, again, I'm not isolating you. I want to be perfectly clear. This is a general thing that people on the left say, and I used to say, and I think it's just it's a misguided way of doing it, because it's like you're just demonizing the other side without really engaging with the complexity of the situation, of what really will be, and also at the same time demonizing all the people that are actually capable of things. Like, billionaire means evil. No, it doesn't. It does not. It's a person like you and I that did a certain thing that a lot of people liked, so they made a lot of money. Are they also sometimes making moves that are shady and, sure, yeah, but everybody do. We just don't have that attention on us, right? So they're not different even in that way. So in a sense, the only real solution, the way that I see it, is to try and stop demonizing one another and try and develop an attitude of, every time we catch ourselves saying this thing about this big thing that we can't touch or change, and we just kind of like, oh, this evil thing, or capitalism, bad, Okay, but what did I do today? What did I get up to do, and what did I do to help somebody? A homeless person. There's always things we can do on a personal level, right? And there's a lot more people like us, regular people, than people of the 1%, right? And people say, yeah, but they have under control. No, they don't. Right now, you can go help homeless people. I'll give you an idea. When I came to LA, and this, by the way, again, I'm not trying to like self-aggrandize myself or anything like this. I'm just giving you a simple idea of what anybody can do right now. You can take once a month, you can take $50, right? You can go to McDonald's. I don't know if they have it anymore. They used to have the dollar menu. That I did it for a little bit, like that little thing, and it made me feel really good. The truth is that in the end of the day, it's still selfish, because you do it because it makes you feel good about yourself. So I used to take $50 once a month, which I think anybody can do that, right? Or most people can do that. And I bought 50 burgers at the dollar menu. Now it's maybe more expensive, so you can get whatever it is. And I used to walk around in Santa Monica and just give the $1 menu burgers. It's amazing the kind of reactions you get from the homeless people, because, well, some of them don't care, but some of them never expected they didn't ask. Somebody just handed them food. And there's something about that moment. Forget about the burger. Like, there's something about that made them feel human. And also you feel great, obviously, because, look at me doing this thing, right? Very altruistic. Everybody are happy. And none of the conversation about how the 1% owns the 99% of the money on the planet has anything to do with your ability to do this. It's much easier to just sit at home and say a thing about something online than to actually try and do something about it. So that's what I would say. It's not about the left, the right, the Republicans. This is nonsense. If we just stop this nonsense and just like, hey, what can I do? What can I do? Be creative. Think about it. Maybe you can volunteer somewhere, That would actually make a difference. So that's what I'm starting to understand now. And I'm starting to act accordingly and try and do my best. And I still catch myself do that all the time. Like, I criticize people all the time. I do this all the time. But in the moments in which I, you know, have the moment to reflect, I like to remember everything I just told you because it helps me to maybe correct course a little bit and like, okay, well, you know, maybe I should look at what I can do. Anyways, I think you got the point. But this is basically the microcosm, I think, that gives rise to the true change at the end. That to demonize one another just because somebody has money or less money or they're, you know, that stuff, it's never gonna work. Us yelling at each other, never gonna fix the problem. That's what I'm saying. Let's see. It's illegal in some places to give homeless people food. So what? There's a million other ways. It's always the easiest thing to find an excuse as to why not. It's always harder to think how yes. So our job as creative beings is to think how yes, not why not. Okay, we have a lot of comments on YouTube. What I'm going to do, I'm going to run through some of them quickly, and then we'll do a little bit more of TikTok. Appreciate you guys. Also, if you are enjoying the live, if you can tap the screen and give it a like, it definitely helps the algorithms, both on TikTok, also on YouTube. Can't really see you guys doing that, but if you can do that, I would deeply appreciate that. Same goes for X and Twitch. Really appreciate everybody. Flat Earth or globe? I told you yesterday, I think it's a sausage. I think the Earth is the sausage shape. People seem to not understand that it has to be a sausage. I mean, just look at it. It's very clearly a sausage. Okay. Okay. How do we go through all of these? Welcome, everybody. 4K movie trailers 9. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Ambient Glass, are you here or no? Because I think you left, and I want to make sure that you hear, because I want to give a short explanation. Holographic sausage lens. Boom. Boom. Waiting for you to tell me ambient light if you're, ambient glass if you're here. Hi there. We need to clone your mission. Well, we are, in a sense, when you inject the idea into enough people's heads, you're essentially cloning the mission, right? Does it move when I do? No. Then if it's moving with you, then you're looking at the wrong thing. Ambient glass. Hello from San Francisco. No 4K movie trailer. Your thoughts are controlled by the financial system. By your own president, don't wait for someone to come save you. Example, God, that will never happen. Yeah, I don't think humans are doomed. I think we're gonna blossom into a beautiful, beautiful civilization that will expand into the galaxy, my friend. We have a genuine difference of opinion here. Cheers. Doesn't the Bible say something about spreading the land and city in those ways? I can't remember. We can hope or we can aim. Like my Jesus hairstyle. I appreciate it. It's really funny because I'm very not Jesus-like. But I guess this is called laziness. But thank you. The way that I see it is, it's kind of like, you know, they say in a car accident, where your eyes go, that's where your car goes. I think we're in the same situation. If we're going to look at the place where we're going to crash, you're like, oh, we're going to crash. Yeah, you're going to crash. 100% you're going to crash because you're looking there. Or you're like, how do we make this better? That's where you're going to go. Nico is asking, are you also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt? You asking me? According to the Bible, when we die, we will be born again and become stars. Yeah, baby. Stars, everybody. Okay, well, ambient glass is not here, so I can't really expand more on the laser because I promised him. Benedict is saying, you mentioned that the simulation has safety filters on according to an explanation you received. Can you explain how that would work, please? Safety filters. Oh, I think you're talking about the different space, right? Yeah, I said one time that they basically took me out of the body kind of like this, and then I saw that there's a space right in front of our space that is the more real space, like where it's actually being buffered. And then we have kind of like a sandbox that is right here a few moments before this thing happens. And I think it's because imagine best way to imagine it is if you take a really high resolution iPad and you put it in front of your face, like really close, like this way. And let's say you just, for the sake of the metaphor, you were knocked unconscious and then you woke up tied to a chair and you don't know that there's an iPad here. Let's pretend that's the case, okay? So you're looking, and what you think you're looking at the room. But let's pretend that the iPad is right in front of you. It's really high resolution. And in front of the iPad, you're also going to have an iPhone that is also extremely high resolution, right in front of the camera of the iPad. So now you're looking through the iPad, through the iPhone, at the room. So you think you're looking at the room, but you're not. You're looking at the room through these two devices. It's essentially kind of what I saw. And the conclusion that I drew from it is that essentially, if we do something in this little sandbox that is a little bit too outside of the realm of what needs to happen, so to speak, they have enough time to correct it before you hit the real space, before it's being registered to the mainframe. So that kind of keeps it on the safe side. So because things will always tend to sometimes shift in a direction that is completely unanticipated. And what I saw is that they're changing information. They can rebuffer during your saccades. So while you're moving your eyes, the reason it resets your attention all the time is because they can literally change things while you're moving your eyes without you realizing that it ever happened. The same trick that magicians are using. Who showed me this? I guess what you would call the simulators. Okay. Hey, it was a movie about you with you in it. Which movie? Can we talk about the nature of awareness and how we can shift energy that way? Sure. That sounds like a fun topic. Well, ambient glass. Oh, there we go. Okay, ambient glass, you here? Because I want to do this real fast before I will adjourn, so let me know, please. Oh, it is maybe lagging, but ambient glass, I'm waiting for an answer from you. Right now, I'm asking you, I'm even gonna type it in. Ambient glass, are you here? So ambient glass had a hard time seeing the code, so I promised to help. Awesome. Okay, so quick breakdown of how to do the laser properly. Do I have one here? Yeah, I have a few here. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that the laser is wide enough, so at a certain distance that it's wide enough from the surface, and also not too close where it will drown the signal. You also want to make sure that the surface itself is not too shiny, because if it's too shiny, it's going to reflect too much light and you're not going to be able to see anything. Okay? Awesome. So this is actually really funny in compare. Like, this is some of our new lasers that Irv the Incredible is making. He's constantly innovating. This guy is just phenomenal. I can't say enough great things about him. He's amazing. Let me see if this is. So these are. Hey babe, do you have the laser you took?
Yeah, it's in my puppy bag.
Where?
The big black puppy bag.
Where?
In the chair.
Oh, 1 second. Okay. this is the latest iteration by Irv of our portable lasers. And you just press on the thing. It's really cool. Some of them come with an X, some of them come with a cross. Okay, so the reason that these are we made them this way is because it's easier to just put on a tripod that is made from for an iPhone or something, and you can just clamp it and you're good to go. Okay, we're super portable, super durable. I'm not advertising this right now. I'm just showing you the difference between this, which, by the way, to be super clear, this is very expensive in comparison to what it would actually cost you to just buy the parts that we sell on the website. That's because we're not set up to do this, so it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort. So it's more like if you're getting one of these from us, first of all, you're helping the project, and also they are a lot more portable than most things you can do, and you can just activate it and work. But if your goal is to save money, this is definitely not the way to go. On the website, we showed the list of what you can get to make it yourself. Super simple to do, and we would help you to understand how to do it. The point isn't to sell as many of these, to be super clear. So, but it does help the project. So if you want to help the project, by all means. So this is the small one. This is what I originally made. This is one of the original one was this. I kind of have to, because I made it with a circuit. There's a whole thing to it, and it was hilarious. So if you make one, doesn't matter which one you work with. What you want to do, this one probably more powerful and easier. See, this is the green one also. So if let's say, what surface can I use? Can you guys see? I'm gonna look at some comments. Can you guys see this? Oh yeah, you can for sure, right? Okay. So if I'm projecting it here, let me move the chair. So if I'm projecting it on the wall, okay, like this would be a good distance for this output. This is also higher frequency, so it appears a little bit brighter. Now, by the way, on the camera, this is much brighter than what it really is in real life. So don't be surprised if when you get the laser, either ours or any other laser, it will look more dim in real life. That's just the case. The camera amplifies this, okay? So now, if I place it here, in the beginning, what I recommend to do, let me see if I can, let me just aim it out basically. Hold on. Okay, like this. Boom. Okay, cool. Is it good? Yeah, this is good. You guys can see it? Awesome. Okay. It's a little sideways right now, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, everybody sees it? Awesome. When you're projecting it like this, technically, when you ingest the molecule, you immediately see the code everywhere. It's behind the light. I keep saying behind the light, and that's an important point. Most people keep looking at the surface. They think they're looking at what they're supposed to be looking, but they're not. They're looking at the surface all the time. Now, I understand, because it's hard to trick your brain to look beyond the surface, that there's no logical reason to look beyond it, right? If you're looking at a window, it's easier to do because you know what it means to look through the window. And it's the exact same gestures with your eyes. If you look at a smudge on a window, and then you look beyond the smudge, outside the window, I want you to register what it feels like. It's a muscle here. You're changing something in the muscle, right? Which changes where you're focusing your attention, and where the eye is actually looking. So that's exactly the same gesture. The problem is that it's actually extremely difficult to do if you don't have a reason to look beyond the door. This is why I always recommend in the beginning, like Magic Eye, exactly. This is why, even though Magic Eye is a little bit different because you're basically defocusing, right? But it's very similar, yes. And in fact, in the protocol, we are giving some Magic Eye examples that you can practice with. But I think ambient glass did that as well. So now what you want to do is you want to come super close to the surface, literally at the surface, and then cover one eye so the laser coming from here is not going to hit this eye. Now, by the way, with the 5 milliwatts and with the 650 nanometers, you don't actually have to worry too much. Like if it hits your eye for a second, don't worry about it. That's actually not going to do anything. If you stare at it like this for 5 minutes, yeah, it will definitely do some damage. But obviously don't do that. So, but if you come over here, right, and I'm looking this way, okay, then you're going to cover one eye, and you're basically literally going to put your head to the surface, and you're going to look inside, okay? The speckle that you see, the shiny stuff inside, this is where you want to be looking. I promise you, it's not some kind of visual hallucination that the speckle becomes because of the molecule. Why? It's a long story. We can talk about it at some other time. But this shiny stuff inside is what you want to be looking at, okay? In the beginning, you need a little bit more of the molecule to actually be able to see it, because it's kind of hard. I don't know why that is. I have no idea. The truth is, I don't know. Some people just see it like this. Some people take some 5 minutes. I did have people sit for hours and couldn't see it. And then after hours, they're like, oh, I see it. I was like, what changed? I was like, I have no idea. I just see it now. Okay. So I don't know why this is. I have no idea, but that's the case. Good news, it's one-way street. So if you, after you see it for the first time, you can't unsee it anymore. And then every time you smoke it, you're just like, oh, I see it. Okay. So it's almost like it's teaching you how to look at it. If you're really having a hard time, there's a few things that might be going wrong. One of them might be the surface. It might be too shiny. If you're looking at that glistening stuff, a lot of times people expect something else, or they have too many ideas of what it might be. And very often they don't even realize that's the case. Drop any expectation. Just look at it completely neutral as much as you possibly can. Don't have ideas of how it will appear, how the coil would run, what it like. Drop this out of your head. Just look at something that departs from the regular glistening that you see in the beginning. Look at the whatever the laser is doing in the beginning before you smoke anything, and then any departure from that, look into that. Anything that changes. Try to be as neutral as you possibly can. Don't try and overlay all these ideas on top of it. And then you in the beginning, you might see some structures. It will look like there's a space inside. All of this is correct. And then you're going to start seeing some shapes moving. You're going to see some movement. One thing to notice very early on, look at, I call them tiny windmills. You're going to start seeing that the glistening stuff, it looks like it's rotating. Again, don't worry about what you believe, or don't worry about, you don't need to like try and like see it. It's as real as an object. So don't try work on your visualization skills or anything like this. Get this out of your head. It's just like a regular object. So just look with attention and look closer. And oh, actually, this is it. Somebody said eye, eagle eye, but that actually reminded me. One thing that really helped, and the last time I realized this, if you look a little sideways like this, so like the way I'm looking at the camera right now, right? I'm putting all my attention on the far eye, on this one. You should be able to see, aside, I mean, right, I have a pretty big nose, but even people with a flatter nose should be able to see a portion of their nose. That's how you want to be looking. And focus all your attention on one eye, on the far eye, and then look in. This actually, it's like a marksman. It actually really helps, okay? For different people, it's going to be a different eye. So try both eyes. Try from this direction and try from the other direction. Always the far eye. Focus only with the far eye. That really helps, okay? And then look at the things inside and see if you can see something. It's really minuscule in the beginning. These tiny rotating windmills. If you look closer, you'll start seeing discernible language or whatever they are. Okay, and it's the whole thing. It's not like there's a special area to see it in. It's the whole thing. So focus on one area. Just stay there. If you don't see, reset. Play a little bit more. Not bringing anybody on today, guys. Look closer, and then if you can't see it, reset, do it again. Look at some other region. Try and play with the depths, but the whole thing is that. It's X, Y, and Z. It goes on into infinity. It's not on the surface. It's not flat. It's three-dimensional. It goes all the way inside, okay? If you start seeing something like shapes or anything like this, some people say they see cities and they see people and they see all kinds of things. This content, look closer. If you see content, if you see like shapes and people and cities or whatever it might be, faces, look closer. You'll see that they are made out of the language. The language is the pixels. Like it's tiny. Then later you start seeing larger linguistic structures. But first look at that. You might see truncated icosahedrons, like soccer balls, that they're kind of rotating like this. You might see stars. You might see all kinds of things. Look closer, okay? One way to know if you're actually looking at the right thing is that if you think you see it, Focus on whatever it is, and then grab the laser with your hand, with the backhand, and then gently move it up and down. See if what you're looking at does not change its position. It should be space permanent. So it is moving, but moving on its own accord. It does not care if you're moving the laser or your head. It behaves like a real object. If you move your head, you're going to move your head in relationship to it. It won't move with your head if you're looking at the right thing. It has a parallax effect. And it's like when you're looking up and down, you can see a whole space. It's like you're looking through a window or through a microscope into a new dimension, into a new world. That's exactly what it feels like. So you're going to grab the laser, right? And then if I'm seeing it, I'm going to gently move the head of the laser up and down. And whatever is permanent in there, that's what you're looking at. Be patient. Sometimes it does take a second. I'm not really sure why, but that's the gist of the explanation. Can I interact with the laser? Yes, but not. You can't really change it in any way. Toretron Max, I haven't seen you forever. How are you? Stereogram, exactly. Awesome sideways. Do I look at it like a stereogram? Similar, but no need. This might help you to kind of play with the depths on which you're looking. After you've done this whole thing that I just described, when you went really close, after you find it for the first time and start seeing it, I recommend to actually go back much further. So like, now you're looking from about here at the door, and now you can look inside just like you would looking through a window. Now that you know that something is inside, you can start playing with the focus of your eyes, and you can look in, you can look inwards, you can look deeper from far away, and you can see the structures together, basically. It is kind of insane when you see it for the first time, for sure. Through a microscope, no, but I did add a microscope lens to this one. That's a microscope lens, what you see here. This one. It helps expand it a little bit. But yeah, definitely a microscope would be one of the next things to try as well. If I can film the code, I mean, yeah, you can film it. You will see it in what you recorded. Lovey Whittle is saying, I'm legally blind. I have microscopic nearsighted vision and totally blind farsighted. I wonder if I would be able to see it without glasses or contacts. Ooh, I don't know, man. That's highly doubted, actually. Let's see what we got. The laser is really cool, man. Props. But they are super cool, so I recommend buying it. Oh. I'm good at Magic Eye books, but I couldn't see the third one on your website. The third one? Don't worry about that. Don't. This is just examples that we put. It's the truth is you don't actually need to do the Magic Eye thing to see it. You're looking at it like you're looking at something regular. The Magic Eye, all it does, it helps you practice the fact that you can actually willfully change the focal distance from which you're looking at which you're looking. That's all. You don't even need the Magic Eye. Well, the better practice, I think, is to look at one hand and then to put another hand right in front of it. And then you look at one hand and then you shift your attention to the other hand. One hand, the other hand. And while you're doing this, notice what it feels like when you're doing that, the shift. That change, that muscle, is what you want to be playing with. That's the only thing it does. Yeah. And again, One of the big things ambient glass, and I don't know why that's the case, but it seems to be almost across the board true, which is annoying. But if you, for some reason, the people that are the most gung ho about seeing it, they're the ones that takes them the longest to see it. I think there's something about overly like excitement, and there's like a, you just, oh, I gotta see it. It makes people tense up, and I think it also, if I have to guess, I think people that do that, I can't know for sure, of course, but it seems to me that it would make sense that the people that do that, they also probably have a lot of ideas of what they might see, and I think that might actually be what's creating this temporary blindness of it, because people have all these what it needs to be. They're trying to project something there. Don't worry about it. Literally, just explore. Just come with an open mind. Just explore. It won't be one of these things where you kind of like, you have to know how to do it or to look through your third eye. Like, it's not like that. It's just like this. Like this. You can just read letters like this. Like, simple. Don't make it complicated. Don't make it out there. It's simple. And again, I wish I would know why this happens to people. I'm scared to do the molecules, so I'll take your word for it. When does documentary come out? Don't blame ya, and absolutely it's not for everyone, so I'm glad that some people know when it's not for them. And the documentary is probably going to be out in about 7 to 9 months, so give or take. Playful, exactly. I don't check my messages on TikTok almost never, and I won't, and I'm not gonna start. Just so you guys know, I sometimes check them, but if I happen to respond to you, don't rely on me responding more often than that. I never check my social media messages. You can email me if you want my attention quick. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. 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 That's the email. Email me. I will definitely respond to your email. Can you use a laser level for the light? Or what is it use? What are you talking about? Giselle, I'll give a quick recapitulation before I adjourn, but at the moment we will proceed for the next couple of points. If you want to stick around. In general, we're talking about the simulation hypothesis, and I'm claiming that I found actual proof we live in one. That's the general gist. Can you use a laser level? What I always recommend, because there's a million questions about the lasers, just go to codeofreality.com. I'll put it right there, codeofreality.com. Created a whole website just for this. The protocol is there. The types of lasers you need to get are there. The lasers we make is there. Don't feel obligated to get anything from the website. It's not the point of it. You can if you want. If you don't want to, there's a list of all the parts that you need to get from Amazon that you can just copy, paste the specs of what you see and get all of that anywhere you'd like. You can get it from Alibaba, anywhere you want. You can source it from anywhere you want. And that will eliminate all the other things. People ask me about all kinds of lasers. We've done the market research. So far, I have not found any laser that is better than the ones that we listed there. And they're super cheap, by the way. So the level, every single one you're going to propose, all of them have some kind of an issue. The level one, too bright, too narrow, not going to work. I mean, it might work, but you're going to be straining yourself, and there's way too much light in a small area, which might actually do some cornea damage. All of this was already thought through. So don't get smart with it, because your eyes are important. If you want to protect your eyes, because you can't use protecting goggles because you're not going to see it, right? So 5 milliwatts, all of this is listed on the website. 5 milliwatts, never more than that. Most of the levels are more than 5 milliwatts. Some of them are 80, some of them are 100. Way too much power, okay? The other thing is too narrow, and you can't unscrew the thing. And if you can't unscrew the thing, it's not going to get wider. So it's going to be too narrow because you need to look through it, and it's too much light in one space. So it might actually kind of like, it's really hard to see. It's too shiny. You might be able to see something like that. It's kind of ready to go, and sometimes we see models like that. But most of them, you can't change the lens. And when I look at the prices of these models, they're always more than what the things we listed. So if, by all means, keep bringing that to my attention. If somebody brings something to my attention that is better than what we have listed there, we'll list that. There's no problem. It's just that so far, this is the best bet. So codeofreality.com, look it up, and then you can just see exactly what you need there. I'll put it right there. Hold on. Awesome. You can use neutral density filter, which can lower intensity by 50% if that helps. There you go. But that's just another thing to buy, right? Why not just get the laser you can just use by itself? What connects to the internet? And anybody who joined at this point and wants to know what I'm talking about, I highly recommend you just go watch the trailer of the movie we're working on about the discovery that we live in a simulation. It's on my YouTube channel. It's also here on TikTok, but the YouTube channel is made horizontal the way it's supposed to be looked at. So Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts, or you can just follow the link tree in the bio. Okay, I think Egyptians were doing the molecule. Maybe, I'm not so sure about that. If you think if I get Joe Rogan to see this, it will break the internet, I think you're right. And I mean, that day is obviously coming at some point. At first, I thought maybe I didn't smoke enough or it just wasn't there. But once I adjusted, focused my eyes in a different way, it popped out immediately. I was like, whoa, Kyla said. Thank you for sharing, Kyla. That's basically the experience that I'm getting with people that are having a hard time. I think it has something to do with just how you focus your eyes, that's all. Wait, why are you sorry? I'm just not sure. Oh, you coincidentally stumbled upon my live Sideways 669. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you here. Okay, cool. So, oh, it's okay. It happens. YouTube is a lot less stringent on that ambient glass, so don't worry about it. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna have to adjourn for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. You can follow me across all platforms. Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram. Goller Danny on X. Laser83, sorry, LaserX83 on Twitch. I will never remember this. And Dango Thoughts on YouTube. DANGO Thoughts on YouTube. Follow me. I've also added a members program on YouTube that will include private Zoom calls with me, private lives outside of the daily lives, as well as content that doesn't exist anywhere else across my platforms, including personal stuff about my life. And obviously, also content is going to be coming out earlier there than for everybody else. And I'm constantly working on bringing more value there. Codeofreality.com is the website where you can check everything out. And yeah, please email me if you want. Tetromax, no problem. Nico, are you coming tomorrow for the meeting? Tomorrow at 10 a.m., brother. I would love to see you there, the Zoom meeting. I sent you an invite. If not, let me know and I'll send it to you again. Okay. Thank you so much, Halloween Mike. I appreciate you. And Tetron Max, I'm excited to see what you have for me. The ships came. Yes. Yes. I want to see this. Going back in. Okay. Ambient glass, remember, playful. Don't stress it. Don't make it into like a, oh, I gotta see it. And also listen to the molecule. If the molecule tells you, hey, lay off, lay off. The molecule knows what it's saying. Amazing Tetron Max. Oh, Nico, I see you don't have to respond right now, but am I able to interact with the code? Only in seeing it at the moment. 4K movie trailer 9. The next sets of experiments I'm going to be working with is trying to do exactly that, to see if we can create any change to the code. Some of the working hypotheses are very powerful magnets, projecting it to different materials like bismuth, playing with what we're doing with the diode, including changing the frequency in real time, working on a laser like that. What else? Yeah, all kinds of things. Spinning magnets. We're gonna do a lot of fun things that most of them will fail, but we're gonna document everything and put it in the film, which is also to show how difficult it is to actually make progress. But and if we can, now that will bring the internet, because if I can prove that I can change the code in a way that you and I would agree that is changing, now we're talking about something very, 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 very profound and fundamental. So okay, thank you for all the questions. Thank you for being part of this community. I really appreciate you guys. Truly, it means a lot to me, the people lining up behind us, and also we have such a positive vibe here. Thank you, Kyla, for sharing, and see all the members tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time on a Zoom. That's it. I think that's it. Can I see the code without the molecule? No. At the moment, I only met 2 people that said that they could. But yeah, we'll talk about it more. I'm glad you joined 4K Movie Trailer. Come here. We're here every single day discussing this. Tomorrow, hopefully, maybe we're going to be a little bit of an earlier hour. See you, everybody. See you tomorrow. Peace and love. Ciao. See you guys.